Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. With students returning to school in the next few days and weeks, we wanted to highlight a bright spot in education that makes a significant impact on students and workforce development in Vermont. 802 Opportunity is a collaboration between the Vermont Student Assistance Cooperation, or VSAC, and the Community College of Vermont. Funded by Vermont lawmakers and Governor Scott, 802 Opportunity addresses the issues of affordability, the value of post-secondary education. To talk about this program, I'm joined by Scott Giles, the president and CEO of VSAC, and Joyce Judy, the president of the Community College of Vermont. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much for having us.
I'm happy to have you. Scott, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about 802 Opportunity?
Sure. So 802 Opportunity is one of our most important access programs across the state. It allows any student coming from a family earning $75,000 a year or less, which is over half of Vermont households, to attend CCV, essentially tuition and fee free. So it makes education or training after high school really something that is possible for nearly every Vermonter.
And Joyce, what role does CCV play in this?
Our role is really to provide the programs for students to access. So we offer associate degrees, we offer certificate programs. For some, it's coming back and just taking a few courses to upscale and change the skill mix that they have and get a promotion at a local job or whatever. But really, it's really our role is to help people gain the skills and knowledge they need to continue doing the work they want to do.
And what kind of programs are available?
We offer more than 30 associate degrees and certificate programs, and so our certificate programs are embedded in our associate degree programs. So if someone wanted to, say they had a long-term goal of becoming an accountant, they can start with a certificate in bookkeeping, get a job, become employed as a bookkeeper, and then they may decide they want to become an accountant. They also may want to use those credits and earn a CPA. The same trajectory with manufacturing, the same with early childhood education. We try to embed short-term credentials into our associate degree so people can get into the workforce quickly, but at the same time continue their education.
And CCV has locations all across the state. Is Opportunity or 802 Opportunity available there?
It's a great question. Yes, we have 12 locations throughout the state of Vermont, and we also have an incredibly robust online or remote option. So a significant number of our students access a combination of on-ground and online
Great.
courses.
So even if you're not near one of the 12 locations.
That's exactly right. And I'll give it a really good example of how this works. We have a lot of students who are in the military, and when they're deployed, they can continue their education because they can do it remotely. We've had a number of students who have shared that they've earned the majority of their degree when they've been deployed.
Absolutely, and this has been around since 2021. Can you tell me a little bit about the outcomes? Scott, we'll start with you.
Sure. So one of the things we've been really excited about is how many students have been able to take advantage of this. And Joyce can speak in more detail to some of the other outcomes, but over 2,600 Vermonters a year have been able to access CCV tuition free. Interestingly, when we talk about this, everybody focuses on traditional age students, but some of the biggest winners of this program have been working adults who previously were earning not enough money to be able to afford the education or training they needed, but really needed education in order to be able to get that next promotion or that next job. And I think 70% of the participants are working adults.
Absolutely.
Yes, so it cuts across all ages. So really, and this was brilliant on the part of Scott's work and also with the legislature and the administration in terms of not focusing it just on 18 to 25-year-olds, but if you're 55 and you are hurt on the job, you need to change careers, whatever, this is available to you as well. And so we are just seeing, the stories are so compelling and quite humbling. A person who's been hurt on the job and now has to change careers. And this gives them a chance to continue their education, get the skills they need without going into a lot of debt. This is really, a very significant program that goes against the public narrative of if I go to college, I'm going to incur a lot of debt. This is a chance to earn your associate degree debt-free. It costs nothing. And what's wonderful about it here in Vermont is so many of our students, whether they're 18 or 50, aspire to something even beyond what CCV has to offer. So essentially they can do their first 2 years and then use that and transfer to Vermont State University, to the University of Vermont, to Norwich, to Champlain, wherever they choose to go.
And I'd love to add one of my favorite stories. This is really more about certificate, but I think I've shared this before. A woman that I met down in the Brattleboro area, she was in her early 60s. She'd been working in landscaping her entire career. Body was starting to give out. She can't afford to retire. We were talking with her jointly with our friends at CCV. She found out about the bookkeeping certificate and started working on that. And interestingly, once her employer found out, he said, well, I've got a job for a bookkeeper, so as soon as you're done, just move from actually doing the physical labor to bookkeeping. And it allowed her to move from part-time seasonal work to full-time year-round work with benefits that she can do for the rest of her life.
Absolutely, and that's an example of actually reskilling, I believe.
Right.
And this also works with upskilling. And we've talked about that kind of a little bit already, but can you put maybe in uncertain or in certain terms what
Well,
reskilling
I
or
think,
upskilling is?
reskilling, upskilling, in some ways the end result is the same in terms of how are we helping people prepare for the jobs that are available in Vermont. And so whether it's, manufacturing, there are so many openings in manufacturing. We offer a certified production technician certificate, which really provides people, if they're interested in getting into manufacturing, this is a way to get those skills and move forward. But we also see a lot of people, let's use early childhood education. A lot of people, in order to move up and increase their wages, increase their level of responsibility, they need to increase their level of education. And so we have a very significant ramp that helps them, no matter where you are, you can enter that pipeline and gain the skills you need. And as a result, you can earn more, you fill jobs that are needed. It's a win-win.
And Vermont, of course, has something of a workforce shortage in things like childcare or even nursing, for example. Do you see that as kind of a driver for people to participate in the program?
Absolutely, and I can give you a wonderful example at Central Vermont Hospital. We are working, it's a combination between CCV, Vermont Tech, VSAC, and Central Vermont Hospital. And this is where Central Vermont has identified loyal employees who aspire to be nurses, but couldn't leave their existing job to go back to school, didn't have the financial resources, and so Central Vermont is allowing these folks to continue to work at Central Vermont at the same time they're going to school. 802 Opportunity provides really significant support so that they can get that education at no cost to them. So it's every year 12 to 15 people are becoming nurses who didn't ever aspire to be nurses right at Central Vermont Hospital. So it's really, this program I think this is why it was of interest to the legislature and to the governor's office, because this really does help promote, it allows Vermonters to increase their education, to get the jobs that are needed so that we can keep employers here in Vermont.
Sure, really beneficial on both sides. And we have a graphic of kind of the impact of the program so far, and there are some pretty eye-catching numbers here. And has CCV started their classes already?
We just finished our summer semester, and we start our next classes on September 3rd. So if anybody in the audience is listening and would like to start, or you have a friend or a family member that is interested in continuing your education, whether you're 18 or 80. It's interesting, we had our graduation in June, and our youngest graduate was 17 and our oldest was 69. So it runs the spectrum.
Great, an opportunity for anybody in Vermont.
That's right.
And Scott, of course, VSAC is going to be there with them the whole way to help them?
Absolutely. So anybody who's interested in pursuing this program can feel free to reach out directly to us at VSAC. We also partner very closely with our friends at CCV, so they're our staff at CCV who are on site, ready to kind of help guide any student who's interested in pursuing this opportunity.
All right, and if you at home would like to apply for 802 Opportunity Program, you can go to the VSAC website or email or call the contact information that's on your screen. And we'll leave that information up on the screen for a little bit while we shift gears quickly to talk about FAFSA. We don't have too much time left, but college classes are starting, as we were saying, college, even high school. So is there still time for students to fill out the FAFSA application for this year?
Absolutely, and because of some challenges that the federal government had earlier in the year, we're doing what I would call an accelerated, intense program this summer through October to help Vermont families, partnering significantly with CCV. So if anybody is concerned about financial aid, they can call VSAC. But we are doing on-site, in-person FAFSA, financial aid forms, opportunities on CCV and Vermont State University campuses between now and the end of September. So it's never too late.
Great. And how does VSAC help Vermonters fill out the forms and kind of get qualified for school?
Well, we obviously administer many financial aid programs, so we've got expertise in this area. And if you have general questions, you can just pick up the phone and call us. We have a lot of information on our website, and then we are always available to do in-person personal counseling to help you actually navigate filling out the forms yourself.
All right, and Joyce, you'd mentioned a little bit before in the program that the 802 Opportunity is a free chance for people to get an associate's degree, but you also kind of mentioned a pipeline to other schools in Vermont. Can you highlight that a bit more?
Yes, and I would also say that, I want to remind the audience that we in Vermont are fortunate. We have a lot of ways to help support people, no matter what your income is, if you want to continue your education. So I would say to people out in the listening audience that don't take yourself out of the higher education game because you're afraid it's going to be too costly. There are lots and lots of programs that we can probably help you figure out something that will work for you.
All right, absolutely. And you said that students, once they go through 802 Opportunity, can look at going to Vermont State.
Yes,
or
they
UVM?
can. CCV students go from CCV to the world is their option. We have a lot of students who transfer within Vermont, but we also have a lot of students who leave and transfer and go out. We just had a student who just let us know she got her PhD at Stanford.
Oh, that's great.
And we're hoping she'll find her way back to Vermont. But it just creates more opportunity. Once you invest in yourself, your opportunities are unlimited.
Great, so either a springboard to maybe a raise at work or even, as you said, a PhD.
That's right.
All right, thank you both for joining us today. And here's the contact information for the VSAC to help with FAFSA or find out about the 802 Opportunity Program that we discussed earlier in this program. That wraps up Across the Fence for today. My thanks to the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX. I'm Jolie Whitney. Have a good one.